Food security has a positive impact on economic growth through the reduction of poverty, increased total employment, and life expectancy.
The agriculture sector, being pivotal to the country as the biggest employer for especially a great number of women and youth, it is pertinent that investment is drawn towards this important sector to ensure not only food security, but also to create jobs and business opportunities.
The food production or agricultural industry has the prospect to increase value addition, create jobs, and income and export opportunities to enhance food security both at national and household level and reduce dependence on imports. African Deli is involved in food supply where it caters for institutions that require food in bulk such as school hostels. The company recently launched the beans in tomato sauce product to its range of ready-to-eat food products. The 100% wholly owned Namibian manufacturing company was established in 2013.
Under packaging solutions, which is what we are mainly famous for, is we've got a various list of products. We've got about 10 SKUs. That includes beef tripe in 2 flavors, which is the chili and the gravy. We also have baked beans in tomato sauce, which is what we just recently launched. So under the beans, we've got three variants, which is baked beans in tomato sauce, speckled beans, then omakunde, which is our Namibian traditional beans. We also have chicken gizzards and chicken livers, all of them in three flavors. What we get from our suppliers, be it international or local, we are getting raw ingredients, which is you're getting frozen tripe, say from Mitco. You are getting dry beans from the local farmers. Some of these products, they need to be processed or they need to be converted into something that is now edible, because we cannot eat raw meat. So what we are then doing here is we are converting this raw product into a edible product using our state-of-the-art equipment. We've had tremendous support from the different stakeholders of the government. These include DBN. These also include Minister of Agriculture, Minister of Trade. They facilitated us in different ways. For example, with DBN, we've actually had some capital injection into our business, which has actually gone a long way in terms of sustaining the facility. Then with regards to Minister of Agriculture, they've helped us in terms of facilitating our export licenses, which is now we are exporting to South Africa, Botswana, Eswatini, Tanzania, and Zambia. Of late, we are also trying to push through into DRC, Angola, and Mozambique. And this we are also being helped by Minister of Agriculture. With regards to Minister of Trade, we had a big challenge in getting into Zambia, and they facilitated for us to be able to go into the Zambian market.
Namibia Breweries Limited is known for producing the world's best beer. Its managing director, Marco Venk, explains the process of value addition that has ranked the company's first class in premium beverages.
Everything that we basically sell is being produced in NBL. I mean, currently we only have 2 products that are not produced in NBL, which is our Heineken brand, as well as our Fruit Tree brands, which are imported from South Africa. But everything else within our portfolio is produced directly in Namibia breweries in our production site here. So although we naturally import our raw materials as well as our packaging materials, most of them from beyond our borders, because unfortunately they are not available locally. The rest is basically all done locally. Everything that we do is being done here at our production site, and then in essence distributed throughout the country and or distributed beyond our borders.
Located at Klein Okapuka Farm, 30 kilometers north of Windhoek, is the Namibia poultry industry. The poultry production farm comprises of a breeder unit, a hatchery unit with a capacity of 536,000 day-old chicks per week, and a broiler unit with environmentally controlled chicken houses. The company produces on average 1,850 tons of poultry per month and employs close to 800 people, allowing it to contribute to the ambition of Vision 2030 and domestic food security.
Currently, Namibia consumes about, let's call it 4,500 tons of chicken a month. Our facilities can produce about, or the capacity is about 3,000 tons. So let's just call it that there's capacity for at least another over 1,000, 1,200 tons for someone else to invest in the industry. The shortage or the top up between our production and what's consumed is currently imported. Namibia it's rather expensive to get the chickens or to get the chicken meat on your table. So the guys that import can import at a relatively cheap price because of the economies of scale in the countries where those chickens or poultry meat is sourced. So if you ask me what is there available in the industry, there's at least another 1,200 tons that can be locally produced. And I think that's what the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade should be looking at by saying, how can we create more domestic players in the industry? We think it's a good thing that there are other chicken producers or poultry producers, not just ourselves. And I think that's the opportunity that is there for someone to take. It obviously takes a lot of courage. If you go back to when we started in 2012, those first years were not easy. There was lots of lessons learned, going back specifically again to diseases, making sure that you actually get the chicken from being hatched and lose as little chicken as possible or animals as possible until the final product is on the table.
Staying at the Klein Okapuka farm is the Namib Mill's Bakpro bread production factory. Bread. It is one of the oldest human-made foods, having been of significance since the dawn of agriculture. Namib Mills produces around 4,200 loaves of bread per hour and between 60,000 and 70,000 loaves per day, which is distributed around the country. In terms of value addition, the Bakpro bread has a longer shelf life than that of other producers, giving it more quality in Southern Africa.
If you just take the bread that we try to deliver from Windhoek to Swakopmund or Walvis Bay, or Windhoek to Ondangwa, Rundu and Katima Mulilo, you'll appreciate that the temperature is quite different between the two places. Bread is something that doesn't have a long shelf life and gets damaged quite quickly or gets moldy because of the change in temperature. So we've got we do our own distribution, and we have to make sure that the temperature of the bread at all times is such that we try and have the longest possible shelf life. Because you must remember, if we bake today and we want to get it into Katima Mulilo, it's going to take 2 days to get it there from the time we've baked it. So again, I think there is opportunities for others as well in this market, but for now we are sticking to the long life bread because we think that's a good product that we can get into the market.
Namibia is a member of several regional economic communities, such as the South African Customs Union, SACU, the Southern African Development Community, SADC, and the country has ratified the Africa Continental Free Trade Area Agreement of recent. All these arrangements are critical at increasing trade amongst African countries and to spearhead the attainment of inclusive and sustainable development across the continent. The opportunities created both at SADC and AFTA level, coupled with our bilateral relations with other member states, are very important to the trade integration and industrialization agenda. The Ministry of Industrialization and Trade remains the interface between government, the private sector, and foreign investors in attracting them to our country.
As the country continues to develop its industrial portfolio, Africa's first hydrogen power plant is expected by 2024 in Namibia. As one of the world's sunniest and least densely populated countries, Namibia wants to harness its vast potential for solar and wind energy to produce green hydrogen and position the country as a renewable energy hub in Africa.
The Namibian government continues to advance its position as a leader in the emerging market for green economy. By creating a green hydrogen market, Namibia will secure the necessary materials for this digital transition, and in doing so, it will earn us foreign direct investment, and we will be able to industrialize our nation.
Namport is the National Port Authority of Namibia, managing principally the ports of Walvis Bay and Lüderitz since 1994. Its new container terminal has doubled the port's container handling capacity from 350,000 to more than 750,000 containers. The new terminal has improved trade and eased the movement of goods and services through Walvis Bay, a strategically located logistics hub in the Southern African region.
The success of any port is dependent upon the extent to which it's actually able to provide high productivity levels when providing cargo handling service, specifically relative to other ports. And hence, as I said earlier, customers or importers and exporters, when selecting a port through which to import or export their goods or cargo, they do look at not only cargo handling capability and the efficiency level, but also on value-added services, that enable them to derive value for money from utilizing a particular port.
In addition to the handling of cargo, the older terminal remains the busiest at the port, having a vessel repair facility, a dedicated berth for cruise or passenger vessels, and tanker berths for fuel imports. Commodities handled at the port also include copper, salt, coal, sulfuric acid, wheat, petroleum, manganese, ammonium nitrate, vehicles, frozen products like beef, fish and poultry, timber, and uranium, to name a few.
We do have a critical role to play in as much as we are established to develop, manage and operate ports. What we see as our primary reason for existence is really to facilitate trade. We serve as a critical node between Namibia and the rest of the world, but also between the SADC region and the rest of the world. So we play that role of linking Namibia and the regional market or SADC countries to the rest of the international market. Therefore, we also actually have a role to play as far as regional economic integration is concerned.
Increased cross-border trade is a key catalyst to stimulate economic growth. Having a one-stop border post means having all and key services under one roof to ease the movement of people and goods at all borders.
There is another activity, and that is of implementing a one-stop border post that will contribute immensely to border efficiencies, and in all facilitating intra-regional trade and the movement of goods and people and the movement of services. The impact of the one-stop border post includes the increased cross-border traffic and tourism, and increased economic integration by helping eliminating physical barriers to cross-border trade while improving the flow of production factors.
NAMRA was created to improve service delivery to our clients, to taxpayer and traders. So that's why even in our lowest part of our mandate, we are also required to improve service delivery. So that is really those are some of our strategic objectives. But coming to your question, what are some of the programs that NAMRA have then implemented since the launch? I would share with you some of the custom modernization program. We're very lucky in that we're really getting great technical assistance and support from the likes of World Customs Organization, because we are members, the like of IMF. So one of the programs, custom modernization program that we have implemented thus far, for example, we started off with a pre-clearance program. Pre-clearance program, we do know that our borders are becoming busy. For example, when we expanded the port, we did not do any infrastructural development at Venera or Katima Mulilo border post. Now you have expanded the port, and all of a sudden there is a higher demand of goods to be cleared through Venera or Katima Mulilo border post. But now we have a responsibility to ensure that goods are cleared, expedited, and also the movement of goods is facilitated so that business or trader, they cannot have their truck being stuck at the border for a long time. So we then came up with a concept of pre-clearance, so that before a week before your goods arrives at the border, all the necessary declaration, documentation, and amount that ought to be paid have already been done, so that when you come to the border, it's only a matter of confirming and you go. And that saves trader time and cost, and because time is money.
Namibian industries are adding to their raw materials and services for local consumption and international exports. But to fully realize the ambition highlighted under Vision 2030, which is clear that Namibia must reach its industrial potential by 2030 and be a competitive nation at export level, what will it take to reach this ambition? This is what our industry captains have to say.
Industrialization, we all know, will create more jobs. And not only more jobs, but it will also create more SMEs in the supporting sectors. And that is what we want to see. But generally speaking, industrialization will require FDI, foreign direct investment. That will be a requirement. And FDI will only follow if your destination country is stable, like we are, if it is corruption-free, and if there are good infrastructure. Now, I'm not going to say anything on corruption, I leave it for you, but we know the infrastructure in Namibia with regards to roads are good. But if we look at our rail system, it is non-existing, and we really trust that the plans and the strategies to get our rail system in working condition again will happen quite soon.
There is no doubt industrialization leads to significant economic growth, as Namibia in my mind, we have the necessary ingredients. We have everything that we need to actually make it happen. There's just a few things that we obviously need to do, as I said, more so from a policy perspective, more so from ensuring integrated planning, and also reaching out and embracing the private sector, because public resources are limited. Government alone and state-owned enterprises alone can obviously not make this happen. So we need to embrace the private sector. That's why we need to create that conducive environment. I must obviously indicate, yes, government has done the best that they can to create that conducive business environment for investors to come. I would say we are at the crossroads, and we just need to implement some of those few last mile steps to enable us to leapfrog into the next level of industrialization.
Well, in my view, the first and foremost thing that we need to do is to support local initiatives. Our challenge has always been the idea of having better brands coming from outside, because we've been so much relying on imports. So the first part is the local person needs to support a local initiative before we can even go to the next stage. Then after that, we need to ensure that we also, as suppliers, we are going to be sourcing from the local producers. For example, if we look at our kind of products, if there is going to be beans available from Tsumeb, we need to buy from Tsumeb, and also try to come up to support these local farmers, because most of them have not been growing these kind of raw materials in big volumes, but at the same time they are failing to meet the competitive demands from outside. So in a way, yeah, I think that will be key in terms of local supply, local support from each and every everyone in Namibia.
There are many ways for Namibia to achieve economic growth through industrialization. One, when you industrialize, that would then mean you would have a lot of your people getting jobs. So the underemployed or the unemployed will get job. Okay, that is one. But also we also need to be seriously focusing on manufacturing and be able to manufacture or to produce that which we consume as well. Yesterday I was speaking to a group of military officials from different African countries attending a college at the Zambia Defense Service Academy. And I'm asking them, if you are a defense force, for example, the food that you are consuming, where is it coming from? Why can you not produce that which you are consuming? The uniform that you are putting on, why should you be getting it from Brazil, from China? Why can you not try to make it to make it here? So we really need to pay more attention to agriculture. There is also this concept of promoting economic development within the rural area as well, because we have a lot of people migrating from the rural area and coming to the city, and it's really posing a lot of challenge as well. But of course, again, like I say, we need some time to challenge ourselves by ensuring that we produce what we are eating, we're getting men and women at work through agriculture, but also one thing. And now let me speak from the perspective of where I stand. If NAMRA do what we're supposed to do and ensure that the issue of tax evasion are arrested, because tax morality in Namibia is very low, if we ensure that the issue of transfer pricing is addressed, if we ensure that the issue of illicit financial flow is addressed, if we ensure that the issue of overpricing and inflating the prices during the tender is addressed, when we take care of all these things, and also make sure that our minerals, when they leave this country, because we do have a report in NAMRA that give prima facie evidence about the under-declaration of some of our key minerals. When you then ensure that all these leakages are closed, the country will then be able to have what is called a capacity to mobilize domestic resources. And with more revenue, one would then be able, even our budget will then be able to contribute to the industrialization effort. Hence, economic growth will definitely be obvious.
Industrialization is one that improves, or rather grows, our economy by really enhancing our productive capacity. And the value in that is that enhancing our productive capacity helps create jobs. It helps with innovation. It helps with optimal use of resources, etc. And I think in Namibia's context particularly, for us, industrialization lies in value addition. And I don't mean that in the space of, just horticulture or cosmetics. Across the board, let's have a look at what natural resources are in the country, and let's have a think about how we can add value here in Namibia, whether it's the full step right to final product or 3-step till another product that's easily can be used to produce a final product. But we absolutely need to be intentional about how we create an environment that encourages value addition from a local level. I think that is one of the things that the AfCFTA is trying to remedy, is to see an Africa that is not only exporting its raw materials, but that is adding value to those raw materials, trading within itself, and then the rest we can export. And as huge as that picture looks like, let's break it down. Let's look at who our SMEs are. What are they producing? What are their inputs? There's so many chances for SMEs to enter the market, whether it's from an input level, whether it's creating an app that, promotes this product, whether it's logistics, distribution. There's so many things that are anchored on value addition. It's not just about taking something from the ground, adding value, but look at all of its sustaining sort of environment. What does it take for me to take something from the ground and produce something? What are those chains? What do those steps look like? And in all of those steps, guaranteed there's space for job creation. So I think for Namibia, it's really about value addition on the things that we produce really well.
As an economist, as a professional economist, I've always been saying that the Namibian economy rests on some particular challenging natures. One, the economy is small and it's enclaved. So what I mean by that is 2.5 million people cannot potentially reduce unemployment and poverty. And we have to ask the question why. And that is to do with the structure of the economy. The structure of the economy has got particular pockets of commercial and industrial activity that is not really interconnected, that is not having a backward and forward linkage to stimulate the economy on a grander scale. Most of our economic structure is outward oriented. So we actually consume what we don't produce, and we produce what we don't consume. So that is the picture that we as NITA we want to change. Because if you can create local potential in terms of agro produce, as I've mentioned, diversify those agricultural produce. And mind you, the agriculture sector is where 70% of the population is. And if you can start with that sector, and you create an agro processing capacity for Namibia, it can go a long way towards industrializing the economy and also adding to the economic growth. So that's one area. The other area is basically the lack of diversification. We have been following the manufacturing models of the world, but I think it's time for Namibia not to just to follow, because we cannot afford a phased-in industrialization. We have to leapfrog. And this is where I talk about a technology-led industrialization, the fourth industrial revolution. We have to leapfrog from where we are towards where we have to be, and we gotta do it fast within the next 3 to 5 years. Otherwise, we risk being left behind, and that can particularly create some level of diversity of investments and assets into potential areas that Namibia still lacks, and that will be more on services. So if you include the youth, as I've mentioned, in terms of the fourth industrial revolution, the services potential, the services sector will grow, and that services growth can add a lot towards the economic growth of Namibia, and that is still the services element is still government led, is still constrained, it's still small. We call it FIREP, finance, insurance, real estate, and businesses and commercials, and it's very small, and it's also outward oriented, more towards South Africa, and it's not really taking advantage of other avenues of growth, but it's doing it now. I see it with this joint commission, Zambia, oil and gas now. I saw it with Botswana, the coal link, Angola. So the joint permanent commissions are actually helping to try and broaden towards the Africa Free Trade Area, towards the ACFTA, to broaden the diversification of growth, of linking up, giving out the smallness of our economy with the bigger economies. And NITA in particular has got industrial parks also in Angola. We've got industrial parks in DRC. So we want to stimulate that towards that, and these are the avenues that we aim to do, thereby to grow the economy.
To start with, we have Vision 2030. We don't want many things. Government must conform. Government must just conform to Vision 2030. NDP 4, NDP 5 now is the government national programs. That is the specific target that we must be able to meet. Government, when we talk of government, we are talking about employees of government. They must be able to appreciate, they must be able to familiarize themselves, they must make it a dashboard item that every single day you check and to say, are we on track? Are we really on? We have what is called growth at home strategy. How do we, and this is properly set, it is properly crafted and ready to go. But do we follow that? So I think government management must be able to seriously and consistently follow what is said. They must not even do anything. They must just implement. It is there, and I think leadership, since long back, under Vision 2030, NDPs, and now the growth at home strategy, they are very clear. And that framework is in place. It's a question of now ensuring implementation. The key and the biggest elephant that we have in the country is implementation. We have everything. Ability to identify the true value in implementation. When you have all the policies, when you say anything, and you are not able to implement, the only best place I can send you to is cemetery. Because we cannot afford to keep thousands of young people and the many other willing people home simply because our incompetence, our unwillingness to work, and our unwillingness to make things happen. We want to live an easy life. Every time you go, there's no painful thing, but everybody is being painted out there by your inability to do things, the speed at which we implement our things. You can bring a request on the table 7 months. In business, it's about a minute. It's about a minute. It's about an hour. Things must happen like this, now and now.
We remain committed in leading the drive to position Namibia as the business and trade hub for SADC and the rest of the world.
The Namibian government, through the Ministry of Industrialization and Trade, remains steadfast in executing its mandate to ensure that the country becomes industrialized by the year 2030 and beyond. and industrialized Namibia will boost economic growth for the benefit of all.